In the year 2147, everything was normal on Earth. People were going to work, children were playing, and the sky was clear. But then, something strange happened. Every satellite stopped working at the same time. GPS failed, internet stopped. Planes could not talk to airports. All screens went black. Then, a bright white light covered the sky. For 10 seconds, no one could see anything. And then, a message appeared on every screen. It was in every language. On phones, TVs, watches, even on old radios. The message was the same. Human males must reproduce with our daughters. Tribunal begins. People were confused. Some thought it was a joke. Others believed it was a hack. But governments knew the truth. It was not human technology. The signal was coming from space. In the next hour, 5 giant ships appeared in Earth's orbit. They looked like silver discs, but with glowing blue lights around them. They did not attack. They did not speak. They just stayed in the sky, silent and watching. The world was afraid. In a small town in Texas, a man named Dr. Ken Blake was working in his lab. He was a young scientist, only 30 years old, but very smart. He studied space signals for many years. When he saw the message, he felt something strange. It was not just a message, it was a call. That night, Ken received another message. It came through a small old radio he had built in college. No one else could hear it. The voice was soft, calm, and not human. Ken Blake. You will speak for humans. You have been chosen. Ken could not sleep. The next morning, soldiers came to his house. They said the government had orders to bring him to Washington. He had no choice. At the same time, the ships in the sky started moving. One of them slowly came down. It hovered above the same small town in Texas. People ran. Some tried to record it on their phones. But no device worked near the ship. Everything stopped. Cars, phones, even watches. Then, a door opened under the ship. From inside, a group of beings came out. They looked like humans, but only females. They were tall, with pale blue eyes and silver hair. Their skin was almost white. They wore long, smooth clothes with no buttons or zippers. They did not carry weapons. They walked slowly and calmly. Ken was brought to the site by helicopter. When he arrived, one of the alien women looked at him. She spoke without moving her mouth. The voice came directly into his mind. You are the one. You will understand. Ken was afraid but curious. He asked, Why are you here? What do you want? The alien woman answered, Our people are dying. Our daughters cannot create life without human bond. Your kind is the only match. The tribunal will decide. Ken asked, What is the tribunal? She replied, It is our way of testing. We do not take by force. We ask. We test. We choose. And your kind chooses too. All over the world, news spread fast. The aliens had arrived. They only sent females. They said they were peaceful, but their message was strange. They wanted to join with human males. For life. For reproduction. Some people said it was a gift. Others said it was a trap. Leaders of many countries met. Some wanted to fight. Some wanted peace. But no one could touch the alien ships. Any weapon fired simply disappeared before hitting. Ken was taken inside the ship. The walls were smooth and glowing. There were no buttons, no wires, no noise. Just silence. The alien woman who spoke to him said her name was Arya. She said, I am the daughter of the first mother. I will speak for my kind. Ken asked her many questions. Who were they? Why now? Why humans? Arya said, Long ago, we were like you. We had families, dreams, emotions. But our world changed. We lost the balance. Only our females survived. We became smart, strong, but cold. We could not love. We could not create life naturally. We found your world. Your kind is like our lost past. You have something we lost. Ken tried to understand. So you want to marry human men? Arya tilted her head. Not marry. Bond. Create. Save both kinds. Ken was not sure if they were telling the truth, but they had not attacked, they had not hurt anyone, and they looked human, almost too human. The tribunal, she explained, would be a kind of test. Selected human men would be brought to the ship. The alien daughters would meet them, learn from them, and decide, but the men must agree too. No force would be used. Still, it did not feel simple. Ken asked, "What happens if humans say no?" Arya was silent for a long time. Then she said, "Then both races may die. You do not understand yet, but you will." Ken was taken to a quiet room. He was alone, but he knew he was being watched. On Earth, people began to prepare. Some men volunteered, others ran away. Fear spread across cities. Religious groups protested. Scientists asked for peace. Soldiers waited for orders. The tribunal would begin in 3 days. Ken sat in his room, looking at the smooth wall. He thought about Earth, about people, about the strange alien daughter who had spoken to him like a friend. He whispered to himself, "Is this really peace, or is it the start of something else?" Outside, the alien ship waited, silent, watching, ready. And deep inside, the tribunal was waking up. 3 days after the message, the sky changed again. Not with ships, not with light, but with silence. Birds stopped singing. The wind stopped blowing. The earth felt like it was holding its breath. And then one word appeared in the clouds, written in glowing blue letters, high above every major city. Tribunal. No. One understood how it was written in the sky. There was no sound, no smoke, no machines, but everyone saw it. And everyone felt it deep inside their chest. Something big was about to happen. At that moment, 7 human men disappeared from their homes. One of them was Ken Blake. He had been resting inside the alien ship, but now he was awake and standing in a new room. A large round space with no doors, no windows, just light. Soft, white light that came from nowhere. 6 other men stood near him. Different ages, different countries. All looked confused. Then, the air shimmered. A group of alien daughters appeared. They stood tall, calm, not smiling, not angry, just watching. One of them stepped forward. It was Arya. She spoke directly into the minds of the men. "The tribunal has begun. You 7 will speak for your kind. We will learn. We will test. We will choose. You are not prisoners. You may leave. But if you stay, your voice becomes the voice of Earth." One of the men, a soldier named Mark, shouted, "Why us? We didn't agree to this." Another man, a teacher from India, asked, "What kind of test is this?" Ken looked at Arya and said, "I'll stay." The others were silent. Then slowly, one by one, they agreed. The tribunal chamber changed. The walls melted like water, revealing a large hall filled with seats. The men were told to sit. Now the real test began. But it was not like any test on Earth. There were no questions about math or science. The aliens asked things that were personal, emotional, deep. What does love mean to you? Would you protect a life not your own? If your child was born different, would you still call them family? The men tried to answer honestly, but something strange happened. Every time one of them lied, even a small lie, the room grew cold. Their skin burned slightly. It felt like the walls could feel their thoughts. One man, the youngest, lied about his past. He said he had never hurt anyone, but it was false. Suddenly, the floor under him opened. A bright light surrounded him, and then he was gone. Not dead, just gone. No one knew where. The alien daughters did not react. Arya simply said, "Lies are not part of life. Only truth creates life." The men grew quiet. Now they understood. This tribunal was serious. It was watching not just their words, but their hearts. Then came the strange part. One by one, the alien daughters walked toward the men. They placed their hands on their heads, closed their eyes, and said nothing. Ken felt it when Arya touched him. Not pain, not fear, just memories. She was looking inside him, watching his childhood, his family, his dreams, even his loneliness. When she opened her eyes, she looked different, softer, like she had felt something she had forgotten long ago. She whispered, "You're afraid, but you are not cruel. That is rare." Ken didn't know what to say. He just nodded. After the test, the tribunal chamber became quiet again. The other men sat with pale faces, sweating. One man was gone. The rest were shaken. Arya spoke. "We have learned. Some of you can bond. Some cannot. Soon our daughters will choose." Ken asked, "Choose what?" She said, "A bond, a path, a future. Each daughter will meet one human male. If the connection is true, life will grow. If not, the line ends." Another man stood and shouted, "This is not a test, it's breeding. You can't choose us like animals." But Arya didn't get angry. She simply said, "We are not forcing, we are offering, and we are also risking everything." Then something unexpected happened. From the side of the chamber, a young alien daughter walked forward. Her eyes were different, green, not blue. She looked straight at Ken. She said in perfect human words, "I choose this one." Everyone was silent. Ken looked at her. He had never seen her before. He asked, "Why me?" She said, "Because I saw your memories and I want to feel them too." The other daughters watched but did not speak. The tribunal was changing. It was becoming personal. Ken felt a cold chill. He didn't know what to say. Was this connection real? Or part of their plan? Still, something inside him whispered, "This is just the beginning." Far above Earth, the other alien ships waited, quiet, watching, preparing for what came next, and, deep inside the tribunal, the test of mankind was just starting to get dangerous. Ken woke up screaming, but there was no pain, only a memory that didn't belong to him. He saw a burning sky. He saw a dead world. He saw tall alien buildings crashing down, and he saw thousands of alien women standing in silence, holding small children who did not breathe. Then everything went black. When Ken opened his eyes, he was back in the alien ship. His room was quiet. The wall still glowed with soft white light. But something had changed. There was a small object near his bed. It looked like a book, but it was not made of paper. It was smooth, cold, and silver. The cover had no words, only a symbol that looked like a spiral inside a sun. Ken touched it. The book opened by itself. Words appeared on the surface, glowing softly. They were written in simple English. "The history of our fall." Ken began to read. Long ago, before humans were born, the alien race lived on a planet called Zalara. Their people were proud, intelligent, and peaceful. But they had a weakness. Their world depended on one thing: balance between male and female energy. One day, their scientists made a mistake. They tried to remove sickness by changing their own genes. It worked, but too well. Slowly, all males began to disappear. In a few generations, none were left. The females lived on, stronger and smarter. They built machines. They made clones. They ruled in peace. But something was missing. They could not create new life. The clones could not reproduce. They had no emotion, no joy, no love, only logic and memory. To survive, the alien leaders began to search for a new path. After many centuries, they found a small planet, Earth. It was young, wild, and full of life. The aliens watched from above. They studied early humans. And then, in secret, they added their own DNA into the human line. Not all humans, only a few. These special humans were stronger, faster, more emotional. They had a small part of alien memory inside them. That memory passed on through blood. Ken stopped reading. His hands were shaking. Was this true? Was humanity created partly by them? He flipped the page. More answers came. Not all humans carry the spark. Only some. They are the key. They are the ones who can bond with our daughters. They are the future. Ken remembered what Arya said, "You are the one." Was this why? Was he one of the key humans? And then he saw the last page. It had a picture. Not a drawing. A real image. Black and white. It showed Earth millions of years ago. No cities. Just mountains and rivers. But in the sky, 5 ships floated. The same shape as the ones now. They had been here before. Ken closed the book and whispered, "They didn't just find us. They made us." Later that day, Arya visited Ken. She looked tired, pale. Her eyes were not glowing. Ken asked her, "Did you leave this book for me?" She didn't answer. He held it up. "I know the truth now. You were here before. You touched human life. Why didn't you tell us?" Arya sat down. Her voice was soft. "Because not everyone is ready for truth. Your kind has war in its heart. So do we. We thought hiding the past would protect the future." Ken stood up. "You used us. You played with our bloodline. Now you come back and ask us to bond like we're animals." Arya looked into his eyes. "We are dying, Ken. Our daughters need more than science. They need feeling. Memory. They need the part of us we lost. That part still lives in you." Ken wanted to be angry, but he couldn't. He remembered the dream, the burning sky, the dead children, the silence. It was not just science. It was sadness. Deep, ancient sadness. He sat down again. "Why me?" he asked. Arya touched his hand. It was cold. "Because your blood remembers us, and your heart still hopes." For the first time, Ken didn't know what to say. That night, Ken walked alone through the quiet halls of the alien ship. He found a hidden door. It opened when he touched it. Inside, there were thousands of round pods. Inside each one, a sleeping, alien daughter. They were not awake yet. They were waiting. Waiting for bond. Waiting for life. Ken felt a voice in his head. Not Arya's. A different one. Softer. Younger. "Father?" Ken turned around. No one was there. He whispered, "What are you?" The voice replied, "I am not born yet. But I am listening." Ken ran back to his room, heart racing. Something had begun inside the ship. Something no one could stop now, and far above Earth the alien ships watched silently. The hidden history was no longer hidden. Now, it was alive. Before sunrise, Earth changed again, not with fire, not with war, but with dreams. Across the world, certain men woke up sweating. They all saw the same dream, a silver door, a voice calling their name, and the words, "You have been chosen." These were not famous men, not rich, not powerful, just ordinary people, a fisherman in Japan, a farmer in Brazil, a mechanic in Egypt, a teacher in Canada, and many more. Each one woke up knowing something strange, something deep. As if a part of them had been sleeping all their lives, and now it was awake. On the alien ships, the Tribunal had made its decision. The chosen ones were being called. Back inside the ship, Ken Blake stood in front of a long mirror. But the face, in the reflection, was not only his. For a moment, it changed. He saw someone else, a man with silver eyes and skin like glass. Then it became his face again. He touched the mirror and whispered, "What's happening to me?" Arya appeared behind, Him. She looked calm, but her voice was serious. Your body is beginning to remember what your blood forgot. The bond is growing. Ken turned. What bond? She replied. The link between our kind and yours. You are not just human anymore. You are the bridge. Ken felt weak, like his heart was full of questions he couldn't answer. Then Arya said, something that made his blood turn cold. The chosen ones are coming. They must survive the next test. If they fail, Earth fails. All over the world, strange lights appeared in the sky, thin beams of soft blue light. Anyone who walked into the light vanished, gone in a flash. Governments tried to stop people. They blocked roads, sent soldiers. But they could not stop the lights. People who were called were drawn to them. As if a voice inside said, "Step forward." By the end of the day, 144 men had vanished. They reappeared inside the Tribunal ship. Ken saw them arriving. They looked confused, scared but calm, like they already knew they had been waiting for this moment their whole lives. Arya explained, "These are the chosen, the ones with the ancient spark in their blood. They are not perfect, but they are open. They are able to feel." Ken asked, "What will you do with them?" Arya answered, "Each daughter will now meet one chosen. They will not be forced. They will simply know." Then she said something stranger. "If the bond is real, it cannot be broken, but if it is false, it will break the mind." One by one, the alien daughters entered the hall. They did not speak. They did not smile. They just stood in front of the men. The room became silent, and then, slowly, something strange happened. Some men began to cry. Others dropped to their knees. A few stood still, holding their chest as if something inside had changed. A daughter would walk toward a man, look into his eyes, and either stop or walk away. No words, only feeling. Ken watched as a young man from Kenya fell to the ground, laughing and crying at the same time. An alien daughter was holding his hand. She whispered, "I remember your dreams." Another man shouted, "She knows my name. I never told her." The room was full of silent connection, but not everyone matched. Some men fell unconscious. Some screamed in pain. Some ran. For those who failed, the daughters simply bowed and turned away. Ken asked Arya, "Why is it painful for some?" She said, "Because not all hearts can carry two memories. Only the chosen with deep truth inside can survive the merge." Ken looked at his own hands. Were his memories even real anymore? Later that night, Ken sat alone. He had not been called. Not yet. He began to wonder, was he truly chosen or just a witness? Then the door opened. It wasn't Arya. It was the youngest alien daughter, the one who had spoken inside his mind days ago. She stepped in, quiet, nervous. Ken stood up. "Why are you here?" She said nothing. She walked toward him and touched his chest. And then, for a moment, everything disappeared. He was no longer in the room. He was floating in a place made of light and memory. He saw his mother's face. He saw his childhood, home. He saw a future that had not happened yet, a child with glowing eyes, holding his hand, calling him father. Then he was back in the room. The daughter stepped away and said one word, "Matched." Ken fell to the floor, breathing hard. He had been chosen, and now nothing would ever be the same. Above Earth, the alien ships glowed brighter. Inside them, new life was beginning. But in the shadows of space, something else had seen the light. And it was not happy. The chosen ones had awakened, but they were not alone. It began with a kiss that should have created life. But instead, it killed. In the bonding chamber, two figures stood close. One human, one alien daughter. Their bond had been strong, pure. Everyone believed it would work. But the moment their lips touched, The daughter collapsed, her skin turned gray, her eyes froze open. She was dead. The man, his name was Eli Stone, just stood there, smiling. He whispered, "They will not stop us." Panic spread fast. The tribunal froze, the bonding chambers. Guards surrounded Eli, but it was too late. More daughters began to scream. Some collapsed. Some turned against each other, some ran. Arya rushed to the control center. Her voice echoed through the ship. "Seal all halls. Break all links. We have been breached." But Ken Blake already knew. He could feel it, like ice in his chest. The Vocari had found a way in, not through ships, not through weapons, through a human. Eli had bonded with the enemy. Later, the truth came out. Eli was not like the others. He had no dreams, no memories of warmth. He had come from a place of war. His life had been filled with hate. And when the signal reached him, the Vocari called him first. He was not chosen. He was infected, a silent weapon. Arya explained it to the remaining humans. The Vocari cannot create, but they can copy. They used Eli's mind like a door. Now the infection spreads through failed bonds. Ken looked around. Half the chosen ones were now in quarantine. Some were whispering strange things. Others could no longer speak at all. Ken asked, "Can we cure it?" Arya shook her head. "Only by burning it out." The tribunal was dying. One of its members, Ilarin, had vanished. Arya feared the worst. She turned to Ken with new urgency. "You must lead the chosen, you and Lyra. Your bond is the strongest. If it breaks, all will fall." But Ken had doubts. He felt guilt. Fear. He had trusted Eli. He had helped him train. Now daughters were dead, and Earth was at risk. He sat in silence until Lyra appeared. She sat beside him. "The broken bond is not your fault," she said gently. "But if you let fear win, the next bond will break too." Ken looked at her. "I'm scared," Lyra replied. "Good. That means your heart is real." Then she reached out and touched his chest. In that moment, Ken saw Lyra's memory again. Her first breath, her first fear, her first hope, and one powerful image. A child standing on a mountain holding a broken helmet, and a glowing seed. That child was theirs. That future still lived, if they could survive. Back in the deep dark of space, the Vocari swarm changed direction. They were coming faster now. Not in 7 days. In 3. They had learned the human weakness, trust, and now they would destroy it. Eli sat in his locked cell, smiling at the walls. He spoke to no one, but his voice echoed in Ken's mind. "You think love will save them? Love is the first lie, and I'm going to prove it." Ken stood tall. His answer was simple. "No, you won't." Because this time, love would fight back. In space, silence is normal. But on the last night before the war, the stars screamed. The Vocari swarm had arrived. A black ocean of machines circled Earth. They made no sound. They had no leaders. They felt no fear. They were not here to fight. They were here to erase. On the tribunal ship, every light turned red. The daughters gathered in the central hall. They stood side by side with the chosen ones. Half of them were still weak. Some had fallen silent. But a few, just a few, had fully bonded. Their hearts beat as one. Among them stood Ken and Lyra. Their bond was complete now. They didn't need words to speak. Ken knew her thoughts. She felt his soul. They were no longer two. They were one future. Arya stepped forward. Her voice was calm but strong. "This is not just a war of ships, this is a war of meaning. The Vocari feed on silence, on loneliness, on fear. They will only win if we stop feeling, if we stop trusting, if we stop loving." Then she turned to the chosen ones. "You are not soldiers. You are seeds. Your bond is the only thing they cannot break." One man asked. What can love do against machines? Arya replied. It can light the dark. Outside, the Vocari began their attack. Beams of dark energy struck the Earth's shield. The sky turned gray. The oceans rose. Power lines failed. Satellites fell. Cities screamed. The Tribunal ship began to shake. Then, suddenly, the bonding chambers lit up. All the completed pairs, human and daughter, were called into the heart of the ship. Arya's final words echoed. When the last bond forms, the last defense will rise. Ken and Lyra stood in the center ring. Around them, the others formed a circle. All held hands. All closed their eyes. Then, the light began. It wasn't from machines. It wasn't from weapons. It came from within, from every shared memory, every kiss, every tear, every moment of trust. That light began to grow. It wrapped around the ship, then around the Earth, then around the stars. The Vocari attacked again, but their beams melted in the light. Their machines cracked. Their minds screamed. They didn't understand what they were seeing. They didn't understand how they didn't understand why, because the one thing the Vocari could never feel was connection. In the middle of the light, Ken saw something. A child, not born yet but already shining. His child, Lyra's child, human and alien, earth and sky, past and future. The child smiled and said just one word, stay. Outside the Vocari, swarm began to fall apart. Some vanished, some crashed into the moon, some just stopped. The dark was gone, the silence had lost, and Earth was alive. When it was over, the ship was quiet again. But this time, it was a peaceful silence. Arya smiled. At Ken and Lyra, you finished what we began. You made the bond eternal. The Tribunal dissolved, not in death but in choice. The daughters stayed on Earth, not as rulers, not as guests, but as family. The chosen ones returned home. Some began new lives. Some raised new children. Some built new stories. Ken stood on a mountain 1 year later, Lyra beside him. A small boy with glowing eyes ran between them, laughing. The stars above were calm. The future was waiting. And for the first time in history, humans were not alone. They had not just survived. They had bonded, and that bond would light the galaxy forever.